You can level up skills and even unlock cool new powers for them in God of War Ragnarok. We had a brand new dev Q&A yesterday with a ton of exciting new gameplay details on builds, Transmog system, more unique armor sets, confirmed difficulties, and a lot more we're gonna talk about in this video. So without further ado, let's jump right in, and a like on the video would be awesome. But the initial game time prediction of 40 hours seems to have been slightly underestimated, with IGN's recent podcast confirming their completionist run took over 70 hours and still had a few missions left before reaching the ending. And I think given their track record, it's safe to drop that down a few percentages to maybe a more balanced estimate of around 50 hours to hit the platinum trophy, which to me sounds like the sweet spot, lengthy enough to make you feel immersed, but not too long that it doesn't become too tedious. I would definitely like to also know your opinion down in the comments when it comes to the game's length. Also, Santa Monica Studios posted a new screenshot of a completely frozen Niflheim, the zone previously covered in Toxic Fog in the 2018 game. I'm not going to lie, I won't miss it, but the question now is, what are the implications of this? Obviously, the previous game gave us a very powerful farm for resources and really cool items around this area. So now that that's gone, I guess we'll have to maybe access a different farm somewhere else. So I kind of wonder where that would be. In any case, there's some exciting details coming our way from the recent Q&A Santa Monica Studios held on their official Discord. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the records, but I did take notes that kind of highlight some of the key aspects you should expect and some of the really big changes that I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be happy about. One of them is, yes, the fact that God of War Ragnarok is getting a transmog system, and now you're going to be able to transfer the looks of a different set to your current one. And this should be helpful if you like the stats of an armor but would prefer a look from a different one. Not only that though, the armor system gets a massive overhaul in Ragnarok, and one of their biggest efforts was to give players more tools to adjust the playstyles and thus providing greater replayability. On one side, every single armor set is now upgradable to level 9 according to the game's lead combat designer, in contrast with the 2018 game where you could only do that a handful of times, so only higher starting level armors could reach their true max potential. Now you're not gonna just be able to continue with the starting armors for longer, but you can also bring these new builds all the way to the end game and still feel completely viable. On the other hand, the build variety has also been improved massively, as Ragnarok will contain more armor sets than ever and even more variety when it comes to the stats and the powers that they affect. So for example, you can build Kratos to play like a berserker now that's really hard to kill, or someone that focuses a lot more on elemental damage. One of the builds that really caught my attention though, confirmed by one of the combat leads, is the fact that it's now totally possible to create one with a deep focus on stuns. In 2018, stuns had a major impact mostly on the normal enemies, but in Ragnarok it seems that it's going to play a much bigger one in more of the boss fights as well. This is especially noticeable when looking at how much more bigger role the blade grapple mechanic has in Ragnarok, but it will also apply to the axe, as we're gonna see in just a little bit. Auto-equip has also been confirmed in case you don't want to care too much about that and just want to equip the highest stat possible, and other ways to swap between skill upgrades to better adapt for the fight ahead were also a possibility. They mentioned that you'll get to see a lot more surprising combinations, especially for those who like coming up with unique builds and ways to defeat enemies. In all of this, shields are also getting a pretty interesting change with the new shield components. So if you paid attention to the axe and the blades in 2018, you would have known that you can get pommels and grips that you can apply to them to give them some nice stats and boosts, especially when it comes to combat. Well, there's now gonna be new ones for shields, and they can affect stuff like defensive behaviors and provide other nice bonuses in combat. Now, all of these will go hand in hand with the new skill tree changes that we know from previous videos that will have way more depth than ever before and will go in much deeper with how much they can provide for different builds. So the new tree will have something called skill labors and skill mod tokens. The skill labors are basically tiers of challenges where the more you use a certain skill, like for example utilizing it a number of times, the more it will progress through several levels, from bronze to silver all the way to finally gold. Each tier provides further XP that you can further buy other skills with, but once you reach that gold tier, this is going to unlock what's called the mod tokens for that specific skill. So each skill will have up to 3 of these mod tokens that provide different modifiers, some elemental damage, extra damage, or stuns, and so on. So you can choose exactly how you want that skill to behave from that point on. For example, you can really adjust how you want to fine-tune your build, like focusing your axe on providing additional stun damage with certain skills, and then have the blades for more elemental damage. And not just that, it seems that the synergy between these two weapons is going to be much more extended in Ragnarok, to the point that you're going to be highly encouraged to switch between them often to deal more damage onto enemies. I'm pretty sure that this refers to some kind of debuff system where one weapon gets buffed or deals more damage if you previously used the previous one. In any case, get ready for a challenge, because God of War Ragnarok launches with 6 difficulty modes instead of just 4 compared to 2018. So Give Me Balance is still going to be the middle of the pack one, but now there's going to be 2 more levels below it and 2 more levels on top of it. Below it, the new one introduced is going to be Give Me Grace, which situates itself somewhere between story and balanced. It's not as forgiving of an experience as story, but also not as difficult in terms of combat as the balance mode. On top of that, we also have the Give Me No Mercy, which is right there on top of balanced. Kind of like gives you more aggressive enemies that deal more damage and also utilize more attacks. And finally, Give Me God of War is still going to be the top difficulty setting, but there are some interesting changes going forward. One of them is to the lethality of the enemies. This has been increased, but also they have reduced some of their tankiness. This is now more aimed as a high risk, high reward kind of difficulty, maybe very similar to the lethal difficulty from something like Ghost of Tsushima that I really enjoyed. Another key aspect that you have to keep in mind is the fact that in God of War Ragnarok you can switch down the difficulty setting. Like for example, if you wanted to test out God of War setting but you found it too difficult, you can totally drop it down back to Mercy or Balanced, but in doing so you can't come back up. This is a way to reward those who are sticking to the max difficulty and are continuing with the highest challenges. On a final note, one change that was also confirmed was in regards to the quick turn button. No, this wasn't removed in Ragnarok, it was just changed to a different button. So instead of the arrow down, how it was previously, now it's going to be on the L1, which is the block button. You basically have to hold it down, and that's going to quick turn your character. I'm not sure if I like it that much, but luckily enough, the game does support custom control options, not just layout, so hopefully that's gonna be possible for us to change it to a different button. And yeah, this should avoid accidental turns like how it was in 2018, but again, let me know down below if you like this change or not. And this is pretty much it with God of War Ragnarok. Expect a lot more gameplay and guides around here once it launches. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.